I have video for you today of a longtime Trump brown-nosing sycophant, one of the real sick Fox News Trump defenders, realizing on live television that Trump is absolutely clueless and has no idea what he's doing. And you can actually see him become more and more enraged, despite being someone who is almost exclusively wrong on policy. I'm talking, of course, of Brian Kilmeade, the one that some people think is the dumb one on Fox and Friends, but it may not actually be the case. And of course, there is a lot of competition for that role, that designation on Fox and Friends. We've been talking about Donald Trump's recent decision to pull back troops in northern Syria to allow Turkey to run a military operation, along with Donald Trump's threat to destroy and obliterate Turkey's economy if they do anything Donald Trump doesn't like, combined with, within hours, Turkey bombing Kurdish forces in northern Syria. We've already talked about all of that. Brian Kilmeade came up with one of the reasons why Donald Trump's actions are concerning, which is, yes, they endanger the Kurds in northern Syria, which happens to be a concern that a lot of people share. It's Noam Chomsky who shares that concern. It's me. It's some Republicans as well. And you can just tell that Brian Kilmeade is disgusted with Trump in this video. And you can also tell when you go to the wide shot, or I think it's a wide shot the entire time, when you see Steve Doocy, I always have to be careful to pronounce it correctly. When you see co-host Steve Doocy, and I believe it's Ainsley Earhart, they don't want anything to do with this. They are still fully on the sucking up to Trump train. And what's funny is that Brian Kilmeade, if you watch him deliver any political opinion, he always has like a slightly confused expression on his face. Even if he's making a roundabout point that has some element of truth, which he does in this case, he always seems like 1 microsecond away from completely losing the thread and becoming totally incoherent. And meanwhile, Steve Doocy looks visibly uncomfortable with what Kilmeade is saying. Ainsley Earhart seems to want no part in the conversation one way or another. Take a look at this.
Just what a disaster. I mean, the president's statement through Stephanie Grisham is, you know, we defeated the caliphate. The caliphate's destroyed. We would not have done that without the Kurds, who did all of our fighting. While our guys, the reason why our casualties were so low is because the Kurds did all the fighting. Now we're saying, okay, Turks, go wipe them out or force them out. What kind of message is that to the next ally that wants to side with us? Meanwhile, we're taking Sunni prisoners and giving them to Sunni Turkey, who has been nothing but irresponsible, though technically a NATO ally. A disastrous series of events. I hope the president will rethink this.
I think the president's doing exactly what he wants to, because he has made from the get-go very clear
to release ISIS fighters.
Campaign promise to end wars in other countries
and abandon our allies.
Man, Steve Doocy is a guy to play off of is just tough, right? I mean, he sounds like a little kid. He's a 62-year-old man, but he sounds like a kid. Well, I think Trump is just doing what he wants to, so yeah. And then that riles up Kilmeade even more as we continue.
That's a campaign promise? Well, abandon the people that got the caliphate destroyed?
I think when people find out that somebody else is willing to take over the fight against ISIS, they're going to be okay with it.
Who's taking it?
Well,
Turkey's not going to fight ISIS.
We have given Turkey permission to do that and to take, and the quote was, Turkey will now be responsible for all ISIS fighters.
Right. And kill and wipe out the Kurds? Are you kidding me? Again, we're abandoning our most loyal allies who did all our fighters. All we did is arm them, and they did all the work. And now we say, good luck surviving.
Well, it looks like that's the tack the White House and the president's going to take. We're going to have...
As bad as Brian Kilmeade's political analysis is, even though he hits on something here, of course, Steve Doocy's dumb comments are just too much. Good luck surviving, Brian. That's the tactic the White House is taking. So there are these tiny little sort of hairline cracks that are forming in the echo chamber of Fox News by mere coincidence, because Kilmeade wants soldiers in Syria. Do you think that after a segment like this, when they go to commercial or after they're done filming, do you think they go to the break room, stand around the water cooler, and they say, Brian, what was that all about? That was weird. What went on there? And what you have is, okay, Brian Kilmeade, like a clock that doesn't move, it ends up being right twice a day. And Brian Kilmeade has stumbled upon what is at least a partially correct take. and it just seems completely out of place on Fox News. Now that that's over, Fox News can resume the self-eating, by the way, which is actually the bigger media story that I think we should be talking about. I've been preparing you for this for about a year now. I think it's been about a year. It's certainly dating back to last May, if not earlier. When we start looking at the possible separation of Trump and Fox, of Trump and Republicans, you have to understand that there is much more to it than simply, will Fox support Trump in the 2020 reelection campaign? We are starting to see political disagreements that are becoming more than just public. They are starting to actually affect the way that politics is happening behind the scenes in Washington, D.C. You're starting to see Moscow Mitch separate from Trump a little bit more than he has in the past over this Syria issue. You're starting to see Looney Lindsey Graham start to distance himself from Trump a little bit, even though he was like the greatest Trump brown noser out there for a very long period of time. But it's not just forward progress, because then Trump will backpedal and he'll pull some people back in, but then it'll happen again. And we'll see what ultimately happens. I don't know. If you said to me today, David, take a position by November of 2020, will Trump and Fox still have this marriage made, not in heaven, but, with a prenup and under duress, which is, I guess, the way most of Donald Trump's relationships seem to develop. Will we still have that in November of 2020, or will we have seen a total separation between Trump and Fox News? And if so, that raises a whole host of additional questions. Will Trump have moved over to OAN, One America News Network, which I've been predicting for a while, and Trump has started to promote a little bit around the edges? Will we see those right-wing media outlets that abandoned Trump actively promote an alternative? Will they promote a Democrat? I don't think so. Will they promote a primary challenge to Trump or voting third party? I don't know. But these are some of the interesting questions that I look forward to seeing answered as the campaign continues to develop. Let me know what you think will ultimately happen. Let me know what you make, by the way, of Brian Kilmeade staking out this position, which, again, it's not unique to Kilmeade. There are lots of Republicans who want troops in Syria for different reasons. The danger to the Kurds specifically, though, is not always the one that you hear.